Hello. Something I always enjoy doing, underclocking. Yes, I said underclocking. Apologies for the lighting and the audio in here. I'm having to record all this on the same weekend as a few of my other videos, and this room is not designed for it because I'm in a bit of a rush this weekend. But anyway, underclocking. I do love it. Why though? I love a power efficient quiet machine. That's it. That's the truth. I don't care too much about the performance. I am buying another 4300G, probably the GE, in the next couple of weeks because I want the low power. I'm not too bothered about the performance within reason. So I'm going to turn this 4750G, sorry, into a 4300G. Now I don't have one to do a direct comparison with. I have the old one that I had that I gave away, and I'm going to use the benchmarks from that to compare. So with a bit of experimenting, because this is Vega 11 rather than Vega 6, doesn't make that much of a difference, but then again it does. It has more cores and all that kind of stuff and clocked higher in terms of the iGPU. I worked out with a bit of fiddling that if I clocked this iGPU to 1350 megahertz, it performs about the same as the 4350G, give or take a few percent depending on which benchmark or game you're running. And that was tested with this RAM clocked to 3200 megahertz, so it was comparable. I also turned off 4 cores and had a mess around with it. So before we get into that, this is the 4750G running at stock with 3600 megahertz RAM, running for 1 hour on loop, and this was the average power consumption. In comparison, in the same test with the 4350G, using the same power supply and all that kind of stuff, we got this. So substantially lower. I mean, it's not a surprise, it's a higher clock GPU and it has more cores. You'd expect to have more power draw. But by turning off the cores and underclocking it, I'm thinking, because of the lower clock speed and all that kind of stuff, that we should be able to beat the 4300G in terms of power consumption. So let's go do it. First off, I tried to obviously decrease the speed of the iGPU. I had some issues with this. If I left the voltage at 0, for whatever reason it wouldn't boot. So I fiddled around with some voltage settings and got it down to about 350 milliamps. It didn't seem to matter after I went below 700. The power consumption was about the same. In fact, it was identical. So with the new settings, 4 cores, 3600 MHz RAM, not been changed. Same SSD, same everything. With 1350 MHz on the iGPU, reduced down to 350 milliamps, which is probably complete nonsense. It's running at whatever the APU is telling it to run at, which is going to be way higher than that. Running for an hour, and that's bad. I spent hours fiddling with this to try and get it down to the same as the 4350G. Couldn't do it. So assumptions aren't always correct, are they? So while this is a failure of a video, I don't mind failures. I learned something, and this is why I'll be buying the 4300GE, because I want a 35 watt CPU and APU. Though, after seeing how this performs, and the fact that the 4300GE is clocked the same as the 4350G, I would not be surprised if I would drop it into this machine with this core and this setup, run the same test, it comes out about 50 watt average. I would not be shocked, because there is some odd stuff going on here. Because if you set, let's say, the 4350G, you get to, like, let's say 35, 45, 65 watt. Power consumption is the same across the board. So I'm half expecting the G version to behave like the 4300G with the 35 watt setting set, which will be disappointing, but I wouldn't be surprised. So anyway, if you're thinking of underclocking this or undervolting or in that kind of thing, the Zen 2 platform, it does not seem to be the one to do it on. These things have been designed, probably due to the chiplet design, in such a way that they're in their own little world. You can't seem to fiddle too much with them. So that's all I wanted to say today. Don't be discouraged by your results. You might have a bit more time than me, be able to fiddle with some voltages, mess around with a few things and get it better, but why bother? It's a bit pointless. It's just out of curiosity. Did the chip design allow for this to basically become a 4300G with the same power consumption? No, it hasn't. If I had a Vega 6 in there, maybe. It could be the iGPU pulling more power, even at the lower clock speed. I don't know. Interesting nonetheless. So, that's all I have to say. If you like this nonsense of a video, obviously thumbs up. By all means, thumbs down, because this is more my curiosity. I spent a good afternoon playing around with this and I had fun, and that's all I care about. Well, until next time, goodbye.